Yeah, I should have mentioned there somewhere that when he plays with Black Label Society, he plays in a kilt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Big
Hopefully they don't
old
have any of those wind machines up
big
there on
old
stage.
motorcycle boots and a kilt.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the Greatest Lists podcast, a show about music and lists. This season, your hosts Jason and Eric are counting down the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s and the top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. Think your favorite made the list? Tune in and find out. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to Greatest Lists, a music and talk podcast featuring lists of the greatest songs of all time. I am Eric, your host for this episode, and joining me, as always, is my co-host Jason. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, bud. Glad to be here. Man, inching closer to the top.
I know. We're continuing our Season 2 list of our favorite guitar solos of all time. We're currently near the top of our list for the solos of the 90s. This episode, we're up to the number 4 song, and we're talking about Joe Satriani and his Summer Song.
Behind the music.
Summer Song was released in 1992 as the second single from Joe Satriani's Grammy-nominated fourth studio album, The Extremist, which reached number 5 on the U.S. Billboard Mainstream Rock Chart. Joseph Satriani, or Satch as he's known in the music world, is an American rock guitarist, composer, songwriter, and guitar instructor. He was inspired to play guitar at age 14 after hearing of the death of Jimi Hendrix. Satriani heard the news during football practice, where he then announced to his coach at the time that he was quitting to become a guitar player.
Wow.
He graduated high school in 1974 and soon after moved from his home state of New York to Berkeley, California to pursue a music career. But while he was attending high school and college, he taught guitar occasionally. His most famous student at the time was Steve Vai, who we just mentioned a couple episodes ago. They went to the same high school together. After moving to California, Satch resumed his teaching job, where his more notable students included Kirk Hammett of Metallica, David Bryson of Counting Crows, Kevin Cadigan of Third Eye Blind, Larry Lalonde of Primus, Alex Skolnick of Testament, and Rick Hunolt of Exodus.
Wow.
That's quite a lineup there.
Yeah, no kidding.
It makes you wonder all the guys he taught that didn't end up in a band.
True, yeah.
He's recorded 18 solo albums and has the dubious distinction of having the fourth most Grammy nominations at 14 without winning the award at all. He has sold over 10 million albums, making him the best-selling instrumental rock guitarist of all time. In 1996, Satriani founded G3, a concert tour intended to include a rotating trio of guitarists. The original lineup featured Satriani, Steve Vai, and Eric Johnson. The G3 tour has continued periodically since its inaugural version, with Satriani the only permanent member. In 2008, he joined the supergroup Chickenfoot, along with Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, and Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they've recorded 2 albums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they haven't put anything out in 12 years. Funny side story about Chickenfoot, that was my son's first concert that I ever took him to.
Oh, nice.
We went to Chickenfoot, and as the lights went down, of course, at a rock concert, when the lights go down, the smoke goes up.
Yeah.
And the lights went down, and you start smelling it, and that's my son's first question. What's that smell, Dad? Don't worry, son. Don't worry about it.
Let's get personal.
If I remember correctly, we discovered Satriani by ordering his debut cassette out of a magazine called Guitar for the Practicing Musician in 1986. Several shows back, I talked about how we would order music out of magazines of guitar players that we had never heard, and just took a shot and ordered it and listened to it when it got in, came in the mail. Satriani was one of those, and we bought his cassette out of a magazine, and that's how we discovered him. His next album was in 1987, and that's when he really hit the mainstream. He had a couple of videos on MTV. And I played that cassette nonstop. He's always been one of my favorite guitar players. I've actually tried to take a couple of his online lessons, but he's so technical and music theory oriented. Being the hack that I am, I get pretty lost pretty quick in those lessons.
Gotcha.
And it's been said several times that if you've heard one Joe Satriani album, you've heard them all, because everything starts sounding the same. While that may be true, I regularly can put on an album of Joe Satriani, and I do just about once a week if I need to focus or concentrate on something. I love listening to him play. So that's my history with him. I mean, do you have any kind of history with Joe Satriani?
I just a little bit. I have heard him a few times over the years. This song in particular, I can sing the main hook in my head when you mentioned the song. Yeah, I know the song. I remember the music video on MTV. It was like a bad Bugle Boy ad with they're at a local demolition derby.
Yes.
You got to go out and watch the music video, people, if you've never seen it before.
Boy. That's amazing. That's so true.
What's amazing is, so I remember some of the images and stuff, and I went ahead and watched it in preparation for the show. And there's some places where he's like leaning up against the outer wall there where the demolition derby's going on. He's just playing away, and boom, this car comes up, smashes the wall like right beside him. He doesn't jump an inch. I'd be like, whoa, that was too close, Mr. Director.
That's crazy.
But, yeah, no, it's such a it's a funny video. But
that's great.
I really haven't listened to him too much over the years. My friend, the drumming friend I've mentioned a couple times this season,
I
think he had Surfing with the Alien.
Yes.
And I remember listening to a few songs off of there in particular, but I've never really owned any albums or, dove into his catalog. But that's a shame. He's the Susan Lucci of the Grammys.
Yeah, he's up there with a Snoop Dogg at 14 nominations. And,
oh, really?
And
no
wins.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I've just a little history with him.
The breakdown.
So while I enjoy listening to this entire song, it's on. I actually have a driving playlist in Spotify that I'll play if I want to drive really fast and reckless on the highway.
Makes sense.
And this song is on it, so I love the song. My favorite part of it though has to be the breakdown in the middle, where it's just him doing some really slow legato licks. And then he goes right back into a solo that does the outro of the song. That's my favorite part of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several other long runs in the middle where he goes from one end of the fretboard to the other that are they're not just how fast can I do this, but they're very tasteful, but they cover the entire neck of the guitar. And when this album first came out, I spent a lot of time trying to learn some of those parts, some of those runs. And that's kind of how I developed my own licks off of playing his, because I can't play his licks whatsoever.
Yeah,
but, that's he's out of the three guitarists that we've talked about this season that are like him, Steve Vai, and Eric Johnson. I think you and I have talked about before that if you can sing or hum a guitar solo, they've done a good job. And out of the three, he's the one that you can do that with the most.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. He definitely has a hook to all of his songs, as opposed to just jumping in and playing and making the whole song a solo. So and like you said, I can sing that hook in my head. Like if you say Summer Song in my head, I'm singing that hook. Yeah. See.
Yeah, I agree though. Yes, Steve Vai is more just let me do as much as I can in this song. And Eric Johnson's all about the patterns. I mean, he's so pattern oriented. But I do like, out of the three, I do like Satriani the best, because he has these like complete thoughts in the song, even in the solo, that are just way beyond repeating a pattern 3 or 4 times. He really develops the song a lot more, gives you different, like I said, like different thoughts as you're listening to the song, versus just going back to certain things and stuff. So as far as, guitar instrumentalists go, I'm not, like I said, I'm that's really not my style of music, but if I had to choose one, it would be him.
Right.
Definitely.
And I've read interviews where he has said before that even though there's no vocal part to his songs, he approaches songwriting the same way. Like there's got to be chorus, there's got to be,
and
a
it
verse.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And you can hear that in the way his songs are structured and broken down. So.
Yeah, especially this song. I mean, it's really good.
Plus, it'll make you drive really fast.
Really fast. Yeah. Just don't just crash into other cars like they do in the music video.
Yes.
Yeah. Bugle Boys in a white T-shirt. Oh man, you're set with this song. Convertible and a convertible down the highway. Yeah.
I forgot how Bugle Boy that video was. It's true though. So Joe Satriani comes in at number 4 in our countdown of the top 25 solos of the 90s. I got a handful of bonus songs for you.
Okay.
So from his 1998 album Crystal Planet, we have a song called Raspberry Jam, which might be it's probably my top 3 Joe Satriani songs.
It's one of my top 3 jams.
Raspberry Jam. From his 2004 album Is There Love in Space is a song called If I Could Fly.
Okay.
And then in the early 80s, he was in a band called Squares. They're very pop punk with a little Van Halen thrown in.
Okay.
It's a niche sound, but I like it. So I'm going to play a song by them. It's called Give It Up. So those are your bonus songs. If you have Spotify Premium, which we recommend, stay tuned and you're going to hear all those bonus songs in their entirety as soon as we shut our yaps. Free Spotify users, you're going to hear about 30 seconds and then be mad that you don't get to hear the rest of them. Outside of Spotify, you're going to have to go check out the song clip links in our show notes to find links to those songs in your favorite music app. Give us your thoughts on today's episode via social media. You can find us on Twitter @GreatestLists, or you can head over to our website, greatestlistpodcast.com, and you can stream this episode or any and all of our episodes. And of course, we're also available on your favorite podcast listening app. Jason will be back in charge in our next episode for the number 3 song.
Mm-hmm. We won't give any hints. We'll leave the top 3 as
silent.
We won't spoil them. Although it feels like rain.
Thanks for listening to The Greatest Lists. We look forward to continuing our countdown in the next episode.
You've been listening to The Greatest Lists.